Welcome to the show. It's IB Nation Sports Talks Friday, rapid fire. Salty's been in here yodeling into the wind. Come on, people. Join me, people. Have some fun with this, people.
Come on in. Come on down.
That's right. I mean, I know the weather is, at least here in South Bend anyway, it's a little bit nicer today, but it's not like you should, it's nice enough to be outside doing anything.
Oh, it was over 50 yesterday and sunny. It was gorgeous yesterday.
It was like that down in Atlanta, too. I thought that we had it good down there, but I guess we got it up here as well. I don't know.
Did you do anything fun in Atlanta?
No.
Call the blowout.
Call the blowout.
You didn't go walk around downtown, go through Olympic Park?
I did like a 40-minute walk down. There wasn't a whole lot around our hotel, really.
What part were you in?
There actually was. Oh, don't ask me that.
Were you close to any of the major stadiums?
No.
Okay, that's all I needed to know.
Yeah, there was a little shopping center, and I actually walked into a Lululemon store.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I've never, I don't own any Lululemon, and I thought,
good.
Well, maybe I'll get the wife something, and for Valentine's Day is coming up, and I went, whoa, I'm not spending that kind of money on this stuff, not knowing, like what fits and what doesn't, and anything else. And see you, Lulus.
Be happy you don't have 3 teenage daughters like I do, or kind of 2.5 teenage daughters, because they were ecstatic with the Lululemon gift cards that they got for Christmas. And let's just say the gift cards we got didn't really cover much because of the prices that are in that store. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Naomi started on that, and I unfortunately cannot get myself out. I am forever trapped.
Yeah, good luck.
Man, yeah, I had no idea how expensive, but I guess, it's a standalone store, so it stands to reason. Because even there was like a kind of a cool looking, like a long sleeve sort of a workout shirt kind of thing, $88. And I'm like, I would rather have an Under Armour than a Lululemon, and I'm not going to spend as much for the Under Armour.
Not even close.
What am I even doing here?
The pants, the little leggings or whatever, like $100.
Yeah. But it's one of those stores that, of course, 3 people hit you up in the first 3 minutes you walk in the store as well. How you doing, sir?
Oh, yeah.
Still doing good.
Because they know that you're a sucker because you're a male in there by yourself, clearly buying for somebody else. And they're like, yeah, there's one born every minute. And they all walk into Lululemon.
I did find a pair of pants in there on the clearance rack a couple weeks ago, and I did buy them.
They do, by the way, have Notre Dame branded Lululemon in the bookstore.
Oh, really?
I found that out when we went and took a look around the other day, and the identical item that is in the store, one of those sling bag, like for example, all the women are wearing these days. It's got the tiniest itty bitty little Shamrock logo. $40 more than it is at actual Lululemon.
You can barely see the logo. Yeah,
it's funny because we go to a lot of Cavs games and they have like a Lulu section now.
Oh yeah,
and like they put the smallest Cavs logo on there. Like you wouldn't even know that it's affiliated. You have to look really hard to see it. It's really funny.
Oh yeah, they get you, man. They get you.
I enjoyed listening to your show yesterday. Listen to the whole thing.
Did you?
I'm thinking maybe I should just be the producer of this show, and you guys just do it every day.
Sean, I'm not ready for that kind of stress. Okay.
Well, because I suggest, it's like we're texting because I had to do sort of the technical end, getting the show posted up to YouTube and all that kind of stuff, and put the show card up and the title and everything. And I'm like, Vince, I need to know what your main topic is going to be because I got to post this show for you. And, by the way, I got to get on this bus and go to a basketball game and everything else. And didn't hear from him. And I'm like, well, Chad Bowden news, this is kind of big. Maybe you just make that your main segment. But Vince was like, how's that going to be a full show segment?
We made it work.
How am I going to do this? And then the next thing I know, I get this show outline, and it's like, man, did Brian help him put this together or what?
All you had to do is plant the seed, and I went with it.
That's what I'm saying. So I'll just produce. I'll give you the ideas, and you guys
just run with it.
The rest, I'll just sit back here and
balance yesterday. I think the main topic and rapid fire were pretty equal in length.
Yeah, it was.
That up. And I do feel like, speaking of I feel like maybe, I mentioned the other day, like the around the horn scoring system. Feel like listening to just you two, like you need like a Tony Reale stat boy, like back in the old school PTI days. Remember when Reale would come on at the end of the show?
Tell you all the mistakes you made.
Correct all the errors. Yes. Because Skylar Diggins and Joel Lloyd didn't win a national championship together.
I knew it. As soon as it came out of my mouth. I knew it.
They went to a Final Four together.
I kind of corrected myself. I said, I know they went to a Final Four.
Right.
Yeah.
But that's okay. That's okay.
Yeah.
Teammates now in Seattle, though.
Yes.
So that's all that matters.
And we brought it up. We talked about it.
That's right. That's right. I've got some thoughts on it. I've got some thoughts on your Jeff Hafley stuff, though, too. I'll save that because there's kind of a related topic coming up here in a few minutes. You want to get into the pertinent topics of the day? We're done with Lulu's and everything else.
You got to hear from some players today, right?
We did. We got to go over to Notre Dame, the Irish Athletics Center, and it wasn't media day, but it was.
It had that feel.
It's like we got a combination of early enrollees. We got Lauren Lando, and I'm going to save the Lando stuff. I think we'll probably do some of that on Monday. Vince, kind of hear some of the new strength coaches'
lucky Vince
on some of that stuff. Well, I can save it for you too, maybe even on Tuesday. So, but we got Riley Leonard, we got some CJ Carr today. We got a few others. I just got done transcribing Micah Gilbert, one of the new wide receivers.
Yeah.
So so we got to talk to a lot of them. Riley Leonard, including, he met with the media for the first time since coming to Notre Dame. And he came bounding up the steps like Tigger.
Seems like a really energetic,
little spring in his step.
Nice guy.
Spring in his step, just bouncing right along, huh?
Yeah, spring in his step for a guy who just had surgery and
the ropes are tight.
Tightrope surgery
and everything else.
There's a name for it.
That's right. Tightrope surgery. It did come up. So Riley Leonard discussed his surgery. You want to hear what he had to say?
Always.
Let's do it.
Yeah, I feel great. I'm bouncing around. Obviously, no boot, nothing. You probably wouldn't even realize I got surgery. That story broke a couple days ago. It wasn't really a secret. Like I tell people all the time, like I was riding around campus in my electric wheelchair thing, just scooting around. Like I was embracing it. What's up? But it's been good. Like it's been super easy. Rob Hunt and the whole athletic training staff have been, great with me. I should be back in a couple weeks. So I'm 2 weeks in right now and feeling great already, so no problem at all.
What's the procedure exactly?
Yeah, high ankle tightrope surgery. Yeah. So
you
in and out.
You expect to be pretty ready to go for spring
100%. Yeah. I think some people say like it's more stable than it was before, so we'll see.
What informed the decision to do it now? Yeah, like why did you wait to do it now? Was there a reason behind it?
Yeah, I think we all just decided to wait, see if it could heal up. And then we got here and we could risk it and play. Like it ended up healing pretty well. We could risk it and play in spring and maybe in the fall and have no problems. But there was a risk of re-injuring it because it was a little loose. That's what they said. And so we were just like, let's get it done now. It's January. Yeah, obviously, I've been out for like 3 months because of my toe. But at the end of the day, it's still January and it's still early. So we're like, knock it out 4-6 weeks, 6-8 weeks, whatever it is. So might as well do it.
We saw the pictures. You're in the gym, or at least in the weight room with everyone. I mean,
yeah.
Workout-wise, you're still able to do most?
Yeah, pretty much everything. Yeah, I'm doing – the only things I'm not doing are like sprinting right now. But everything else in the weight room I'm doing with those guys.
doing everything but sprinting. So you got
in the gym.
right from the horse's mouth. Who wants to go first? What do you guys think?
I think Vince wants to go first.
Okay.
I think it's hilarious. He's like, I don't even understand what all the excitement's about. He's like, if anybody was walking around campus, they'd have seen me going around with my electric, motorized deal. And like,
are you surprised somebody on campus didn't like either take a picture of him or a video or like,
I don't know. I think we all knew that he wasn't 100% right now. Like that wasn't major news, I guess, to me. So it was the story that got out was troublesome because it was so wrong. Like that's the biggest issue here.
Non-weight bearing. He's going to miss.
It was the other ankle, because it's clearly said in the article, it was the other ankle. You know what I mean? So it's like, okay, well now that's a concern, right? But if it wasn't, if what was reported was actually true, okay, or if the truth was actually reported, I should say, it's a non-story. You know what I mean? So that's what made it a story and the whole thing. And then Rob Hunt, of course, trolling, and that didn't help, and whatever. But like, well, it's a non-story.
Rob Hunt was whether he was trolling or not was 100% correct,
which I love, by the way.
His troll was, this story is inaccurate. Was the gist of what he said.
Yes, but it gave it legs. You know what I mean? It gave it it didn't let it go away. But I love Rob. I think Rob does a fantastic job. I've worked with Rob for years and years with my summer job, so I think Rob is awesome. But I think Riley just got a taste of what it's like to be at Notre Dame and not at Duke. Like from a media standpoint, you know what I mean?
He mentioned that too. He said today, he was like, "Oh, at our media day, we had probably maybe a fifth of this.
This isn't even media day."
And literally, it's
like going from playing the A's to the Yankees.
He's sitting at a table, and there's between 20 and 30, people.
Oh, I'm sure.
Probably closer to 30. And it's not even media day. It's it's February 2nd, and it's you're here, and we're talking to new players. Day. It's not even an official media day,
Right.
So yes, people do, and as Salty says, people do care a lot more, and there is a lot more attention paid to it, obviously. Jess?
Yeah, it's really hard to kind of follow up with much more supplemental detail than what Vince did. I just think it's ultimately, it's just kind of funny. It's not a lot of people's business, but they're trying to make something potentially out of nothing. And I think it's just great on him and Notre Dame to get ahead of this thing early and kind of get some of this maintenance, stuff done before the real season starts. And it's if he's able to work out on it, like he's not missing anything right now, because that's all you're doing is working out, doing, different forms of speed and agility training. And, he's a mobile quarterback, but it's not like he needs to be running sprints right now. And I like the concept of being proactive about this and getting it done. That way, once the season comes, there's no more lingering issues.
I like the concept of Notre Dame football took the opportunity to put out a photo that apparently was also taken yesterday and tweeted out.
Yes.
Early last night.
I loved that.
As all this stuff is brewing, it's like, here's Riley Leonard, and I've got my medicine ball, and I'm again.
And he's bounding Tigger, off of his ankles in that video. Like
that heel is up. He's using that ankle.
That's right. And he walked in today like there was nothing wrong. And he's obviously a few weeks into this recovery process, because again, as I mentioned earlier this week when we talked about it, we had, there was something on our message boards about it last week. And this happened, I think, like the surgery happened basically right around the time he got to campus. So this is like 2+ weeks old at this point. This has been going on for a while, and he's already into the healing process and everything else. So, I mean, great for him. It's just like what I found was weird was, again, like people have their sources, get their information, whatever, but we've known that the guy was going to be coming out to talk to the media today, so I'm not sure what the rush was to get this out, knowing that you were going to be able to sit down face to face with him and talk to him today about it and ask him the question that he got asked. So that's, kind of any disconnect for me, like why this came out a couple of days ago when you were going to get to talk to him 2 days later.
I enjoyed Notre Dame.
And actually get from the horse's mouth confirmation or denial on whatever.
And that's clicks, baby. Like I guarantee you.
Oh, that's what that was. Okay.
Yeah, that's clicks. The author, he learned a lesson, I think, but I guarantee you the people that signed his paycheck were ecstatic because they got a boatload of clicks.
True.
They don't care if it's real or not. I don't really think they care. They don't. Right. And I think the author is going to take a bit of a hit and have to learn a lesson here. But like his bosses, I don't think they care. I really don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but at the end of the day, clicks are what matter, man.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right. You get it, and now you get, follow-up clicks.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. Yeah.
I enjoyed Notre Dame's pettiness in their kind of sub-tweet. I call that basically a sub-tweet.
Oh, it's totally petty, and it was amazing. Like it was.
It's almost like if you want to know what's true and what's not, why don't you go through the university? Why don't you go through?
Well, and I know we're not going to get to, we're not scheduled to talk to Marcus Freeman until spring football starts, or unless something else happens, on the final signing day and stuff like that.
I'll see him tomorrow if you want me to relay something.
Okay. But my point is, typically with injuries, we get some kind of confirmation from him, because like even the assistant coaches, when they talk during the season or during camp, they're not going to address injuries. They're like,
right,
you want injury stuff, you talk to the head coach,
Well, and there's also channels that you can take with the people that we know in the administration over there, and you can ask, but like, hey, did this happen? Is it cool if I report on it? Like there's channels to take, there's ways to do it the right way. It just wasn't done that way. You know what I mean? It just wasn't. So, yeah.
So, a few other topics came up. But the one that I found most interesting for today, anyway, Riley Leonard was asked about the Notre Dame defense as someone who got to face the Notre Dame defense during the season.
Yeah, that was a huge part of my commitment. Like whenever they were recruiting me, I was like, "Who's coming back on defense?" Because I played against them, and like they were the most, high flying. They were flying around all game, like really, really incredible players. So whenever I heard like guys like Riley Mills coming back, Howard Cross, who still owes me dinner, so I told him there's a Ruth's Chris like right down the street. Yeah, that was a lot of weight on my ankle, but like those type guys, Xavier Watts, like Ben Morrison, who I think is a sophomore now, but just incredible players, Jack Kaiser. So yeah, that was an easy decision for me after seeing those guys.
That was obviously my favorite part of that clip was the Howard Cross
That's great.
comment. Still owes me dinner.
It's very comfortable in front of the media. I like that.
Yep.
For
and sure.
I will also say it's very impressive to me, and maybe I shouldn't be impressed, but it's very impressive to me. He was able to rattle off all those names. He hasn't been there that long.
True.
Yes, they're teammates now officially or whatever, and they've been doing workouts, but he rattled off some names pretty quickly. I give him a little bit of credit for that. He did his homework. He usually as a coach, when you're putting together a game plan or whatever, you know them by their numbers.
Numbers.
What I mean?
Yeah.
Numbers.
Like, okay, here's number 20. We got to keep an eye on him. That kind of
but
thing.
not necessarily. Like I give him credit for knowing the defensive guys over there. That was good.
Yeah, I thought the part that was most interesting, that he basically admitted to, that Notre Dame's defense was some sort of factor in his recruiting process, because when he came on his visit, if everyone remembered, it was a big deal that he was with Xavier Watts. And you heard him mention Xavier Watts in that clip as well. And so I do believe that it went a long way of, feeling comfortable in a program, knowing that you have, knowing what Notre Dame's defense is. And I guess it played a bigger role than what I really thought.
Yeah. You knew he'd know Howard Cross. For good or bad, you knew he'd know that one. Like you said, it was a lot of weight on his ankle. I hope that Howard steps up and buys him that steak at some point.
I'm sure the
Should.
D line's got a nice NIL deal where they could take out Riley Leonard somewhere.
Yeah, take a quarterback to lunch kind of deal or something
And
like
they all
that.
get NIL money. He's got enough money set aside to take him out for a meal like that. He'll be okay.
Salty asked, going back to the injury thing, were any HIPAA provisions, right to medical privacy, violated by the person who released Riley's incorrect surgery information? Well, I mean, obviously, because you release information, without the permission of the person you're talking. And again, that's typically why all the injury information filters through the head coach, because he knows what, and like you can apply this to Olivia Miles, for example, because there have been a lot of people grumbling. Well, why doesn't she want to say what she never said what the injury was officially, because that's her HIPAA right. That's her right to privacy. She does not have to release that, or anyone who's injured. They don't have to release that information if they don't want it released. They have to give permission for those things to be released. That's what HIPAA is. So, I know that like fans want to know, media obviously want to know, but that's why there are HIPAA provisions in place, because it is that person's right to privacy. It is their information. And that was the crux of what Rob Hunt was saying in that tweet.
Which is why he didn't say specifically what happened. He just says this is wrong.
Right.
And everybody's like, well, then if you know what it is, then why can't you tell it? Like, those were some of the ridiculous comments under Rob's tweet, was like, oh, if you know so much, then what actually happened? I mean, if you know so much, he's the head athletic trainer for the football team.
Head athletic trainer, I know.
Oh my God, like the ignorance that was pouring out of people was unbelievable. But then again, welcome to X.
That's right. Okay, so again, we'll have some more, like over the weekend on the Irish Breakdown site. We're going to have plenty of stories, be cranking out these different, Riley Leonard and CJ Carr and Lauren Lando and everybody else will have all kinds of content coming up on the site over the next few days. And we'll have more audio on next week's shows as well from some of those guys. So looking forward to that. So with Jeff Hafley leaving Boston College to become Green Bay's defensive coordinator, Bruce Feldman from The Athletic has listed Notre Dame defensive line coach Al Washington as a candidate for the Boston College job. Here's what Feldman says, quote, Washington played and coached at BC. The 39-year-old Ohio native was a 3-year starter for the Eagles and later coached on both sides of the ball for BC. After leaving Boston College, he coached at Cincinnati, Michigan, and Ohio State before Marcus Freeman hired him in South Bend. Washington was a candidate for the job last time it opened and might make a lot of sense now, end quote. Again, that is from Bruce Feldman. So what do you guys think about Al Washington as a head coaching candidate at Boston College?
I think that the fit makes sense. And I actually didn't realize that he played at Boston College. So, that to me is already a strong connection of, being an alma mater. And then, again, having the opportunity to already be a coach there kind of at some point as well. I guess the only thing that I would question about Al Washington is he doesn't have any coordinator experience yet. And I not to say that coordinator experience is needed before you become a head coach. I would just like to see a little bit more experience out of Al Washington before I'd be ready to commit to saying that he would be a good head coach. And I also think it's kind of funny now too, because this is another guy that a lot of Notre Dame fans, gave a hard time to. And now, he had a good season and now he's on the trail of potentially being a head coach somewhere.
I think it makes a lot of sense, to be honest with you. I think that the trajectory of Al Washington is headed in the right direction. He has not been a coordinator, but at the same time, the last time that he was a quote unquote candidate for the job, he wasn't a coordinator then either. And now he's got even more experience under his belt. And look, Boston College people may not like this, but Boston College, the head coaching job at Boston College is kind of an entry level Power 5 head coaching job. And so you're not necessarily going to be able to get an established coordinator or something along those lines. There's ties to Al Washington from BC. He's got experience on both sides of the ball. I could see this being a fit. I really could. Now, as a Notre Dame fan, as an analyst for Notre Dame, it would suck to lose him.
Right.
But you lose a defensive line coach to a head coaching position, like you just kind of got to give a pat on the back and
It's
be
one
like,
of those you can't argue with,
man.
That's right.
Like, you know, if you're going to leave for a promotion. This is clearly a promotion. So, you know,
it happens a lot at Notre Dame too. A lot of guys
yeah.
go on to become, you know, head coaching
100%.
somewhere.
Yep.
And I never, that's never a bad thing in my opinion. I think that makes it look like your program is good. Like you're able to produce a lot of good quality football, good quality, you know, maturation of, you know, players, and then the ability to, you know, be a good coach as well.
Right.
It's same but different. Gerard Mayo, Patriots, was a position coach.
Yeah.
He followed Bill Belichick as head coach.
That was like the plan going in too, like a succession plan, which is
they had that, I guess, signed in his last contract that, you know, if it came open, he was going to become the head coach. I didn't realize Washington had interviewed for this when Hafley ended up getting the job.
Idea.
They were obviously both Ohio State assistants at that point. And this, you know, again, this ties into what you guys were talking about yesterday, the reasons Hafley gave for leaving when he talked about NIL and spending time, you know, on these different things that aren't necessarily just coaching. To me, I took that as he was being diplomatic, you know, trying not to talk down the Boston College job because of what you just said, though, Vince. This is a lower level Power 5 job. It is an entry level Power 5 job. And I think that part of it is, like with Hafley specifically, is it's not just that he has to spend time on NIL, it's that he had to spend time essentially trying to, you know, keep the NIL dogs off of his players, you know, like his best players to lure, you know, that's a battle that you have to start fighting. You essentially, as a Boston College or a Wake Forest, a Duke, you become a feeder for the bigger Power 5 schools, basically. And I think that was part of the battle that Hafley was tired of fighting. And so it's like, well, I give this up. I'm going to go to the NFL to become a defensive coordinator. If I have success there, maybe I'm an NFL head coach in a few years. But, you know, like for Al Washington, you know, again, this is an entry level Power 5 job. And there's not a ton of interest in Boston College, you know, like even in Boston, if they are really, really good, they'll have more interest. But in general, it's, you know, it's a tough drum to beat there, you know. So I think if Al Washington wants to go be a head coach, it is his alma mater. I think it would make sense for him. But just with the landscape of college football right now, I think it's going to be harder and harder for the Boston colleges and, you know, again, the Wake Forests and those kind of schools to have success because of all the extra things that they have to battle with teams and, you know, other programs trying to lure away their players with NIL money and everything else.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. And I get that. I actually just did a quick search. It sounds like Bill O'Brien is the guy that's like leader in the clubhouse. Apparently.
Got him in their sights now, huh?
Which is very interesting.
That would be, Bill would take that.
Well, so I was to say that'd be a huge gift for BC. Like if they could actually make that happen and nail that down, like that would be a big time hire for them. But it sounds like they've had like 6 to 9 interviews and they're just like throwing stuff at the wall and seeing what sticks. That's what it sounds like to me.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's what you have to do when you're Boston College. You know, I mean, I'm sorry, but like you kind of have to wait for other schools to, you know, figure out who their recruits are, and then Boston College gets to get involved.
So you're saying that's how it feels. They're the current Washington Commanders of college football.
100%.
Yeah, I mean, if they're going to call Bill O'Brien, you know, maybe Bill Belichick wants to go back to college.
Stay in Boston, just
can you imagine that in-home visit? Can you imagine that in-home visit from him? Oh, God.
Thinking about going up Chestnut Hill.
You want to kick for me? I don't know. Whatever.
I'm gonna go ahead and leave now.
And you know, it would be huge for Boston College to get a guy like Bill O'Brien because it's a big name. He's got his own ties to the Patriots and everything. But how long is he going to be there if he has success?
100%.
You know? He's either going to be there for 3 years and not succeed or be there for 3 years and have success and want to go someplace else the first opportunity that he gets.
I still think it's a win, though. I think if you're Boston College, you still do it. Don't you?
I don't see any reason not to. You know,
Yeah,
like we took a chance on a relatively young guy like Halfley.
Sure.
And in the short term, it seemed like it was going to work out. When he got
Yeah.
Phil Jerkovic to,
Yeah.
you know, that was
was big.
huge for
Phils.
them.
That was massive.
That
and there was
huge for them
success.
to get a big name guy. Yeah, and they were good for a while until their offensive line became horrible, and Phil, you know, just got beaten up. That's what it came down to.
Sure.
And then
because for a while there, that Phil Jerkovic to Zay Flowers connection, like that was legit. That was legit. They were beating people they should not have beaten. You know.
Yep.
I didn't realize that Jeff Hafley spent a good time in the NFL before coming back to college.
Yes, I looked that up actually yesterday when I was doing the research for.
Was
Rapid
co-defensive coordinator for Ohio State.
Right.
When they had bad defenses, though. Sorry.
Now he's going to the Packers to become a defensive coordinator.
Hey, bad defense. Keep it coming.
Yep. Towny Irish. Yeah, this was kind of my point about, you know, Boston is an afterthought, or Boston College is an afterthought in Boston because they're.
When you got the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Patriots, like,
and the Red Sox.
And the Red Sox. Yeah.
Yep. Backup college, baby. Backup college. Okay. So I saw a Notre Dame fan tweet this question earlier this week. What's worse than being a diehard of a team that you haven't witnessed a national championship in your lifetime? So, guys, what's your answer? I guess Vince has at least witnessed.
I got to take this first.
Lifetime.
Go ahead.
Jesse, go.
I've been a Notre Dame and a Cowboys fan. You know, those are two tough fandoms to be a part of, you know, knowing that the success that came before me and then nothing that's come afterwards. Quite honestly, it stinks. And I don't think that there is anything worse than it. And I think the only thing that's keeping me alive as a fan is knowing that people went through over 100 years with the Cubs, and I got to see them win it in 2016. I didn't have to go through potentially a whole lifetime of not seeing, you know, some sort of championship. So that's the only thing I can hang my hat on right now is that that the Cubs were able to do it after so many years. But it genuinely, Notre Dame I don't really mind as much, but it's the Cowboys one that really bothers me because a lot of my friends love to point that one out. You know, like you don't hear the end of it at essentially if you're a Cowboys fan, and you know it stinks, and you get a lot of hype built up about, you know, what they used to be, and it's like, yeah, I'd love to see that, but clearly I haven't.
I mean,
you could be onto something. You could be the common denominator, just holding them all down. Although the Cubs did win, though. So.
They did. Now it took them 36 years of my life for them to win, 35 plus, I should say. So it felt like a lifetime for the Cubs to win, and they were really bad for the vast majority of my life. And being a Notre Dame fan is a little bit different because you get your hopes up. Like I don't get my hopes up with the Cubs. Certainly haven't gotten my hopes up with the Bears. They did win it in my lifetime, but I was 4.
They got to a Super Bowl, though, at least 2.
They did, and it was super exciting for the first 18 seconds.
Right.
When Devin Hester ran that kickback, I was like, let's go!
And at least you lost to Peyton, right? Like
it was all downhill from there. It was all downhill from there. But so like I guess I don't know what's worse because I've always kind of rooted for the losers, it feels like. And it's okay. Like I've never coached a state championship team. Like, I don't know. I guess it's just the norm for me. And winning in 2016 with the Cubs felt weird. Felt great, but it did feel weird. I will say that.
I mean,
very like pinch me moments. Like, is this going on?
Oh yeah. I made my son, like we recorded watching like the final outs, like to go to the World Series and then to win the World Series and like, all like, cause I just didn't believe that it was going to happen.
Right. I mean, you could be a Detroit Lions fan, for example.
Yeah.
Like it's been like that guy who's been the season ticket holder for 66 years,
He got his 15 minutes too. I don't know if that's ever coming back, but
he did. Almost got to the Super Bowl. I mean, for that matter, you could be a Boston College fan and just there's like never any.
And you're never gonna win.
Yeah,
never gonna win.
Or like a Kansas State Wildcats. I've got my rock chalk on my KU. You could be a Kansas State Wildcat fan. True story. So out there, I-70 runs through the middle, runs across Kansas, and there's an exit. You get off I-70, you go to Manhattan, where Kansas State is, and out there on I-70 for a long time. I don't think they still have it, but it said, exit here, Kansas State University, the home of the national debate champions. They're promoting. They were so hard up to promote anything. They were promoting their debate team.
That's
winning
rough.
national championships. That's right.
It's going to be interesting to root for a team that has zero chance of winning like it all. Whatever you constitute as it all, right? Like,
yeah.
So my son's going to go someplace for college, right? And wherever he goes, the chances of him winning a national championship are slim to none, because he's probably not going to go to like Georgia or Alabama. He's not going to, let me rephrase that. He's not going to go to any of those types of schools. So it's like, I'm going to be a fan. I'm going to root. But at the end of the day, they're not going to win a national championship. So
Right.
you got to root for like conference championship, rivalry wins. Like you got to like lower the bar a little bit. I don't know really what that's like. I don't know. It's going to be weird.
I like what you're getting onto, because at least with Notre Dame and the Cowboys, there are expectations every year of being good. And in relative terms, we are spoiled by how consistently average to above average they are. Just the frustrating part is that is the frustrating part. They're expected to be good and they don't quite take it as far as what they're supposed to. And I think that's one of the harder parts too, is you hear all this hype about what they're supposed to be and their big names and, all these things. And again, a 10-2 season or a 9-3 season is great for a lot of programs around the country. But when you're a Notre Dame fan, it's like, that's not good enough. Right. And so like, that's the also stinky part as well.
Yeah.
And I mean, let's be honest, it doesn't make it any easier when that school to the north wins a national championship. And the fact that they've got 2 national championships now since Notre Dame won its last one. That doesn't help anything.
No, it does not.
When you start comparing. So
Josh Phillips says Notre Dame men's basketball hasn't won a championship in my lifetime.
But
anybody's lifetime, because they never have.
I got more exhilaration out of those Elite 8 appearances and what should have been a Final Four appearance than I did in a lot of Notre Dame football runs, because they always ended in disappointment too. There was never, it was like cool when they made the playoffs and stuff, but like, I don't know. Those games, I never, and this is going to be crappy to say, but like, I never felt good about when Notre Dame was playing Alabama in the national championship, or when they were playing Clemson in the play, and they never gave me signs during the game that like they're going to do this, right? Like you never had the feeling in your stomach they were going to do it, but like in those basketball games, I genuinely felt like they were going to do it, and they were going to go to the Final Four, and they had this shot to go to the national championship. In the big games, I've never felt like Notre Dame was going to produce, like the LSU Sugar Bowl growing up, the Fiesta Bowl against Ohio State. Like I don't know. It's just never felt like that they were going to do it.
The only game I would disagree with you on is Notre Dame Clemson. They were absolutely in that game until Love went out. They were absolutely in that game. Then he went out, and it was Julian Love. They were absolutely in that game, and then it was over at that point. Like as soon as he goes out, they go right after his replacement, and it's ball game. Right? Like they were in that game 100%. But other than that, I 100% agree with you. It's like
going into the Alabama game, though, I thought that I just had this feel the national champion,
the 2012 one,
the championship game.
Okay,
yeah. I felt really good, and obviously it took about 5 minutes for
you were on the Kool-Aid.
Well, from what I heard, like people that were actually there, which I was not one of those people.
Oh, I was there.
They were like walking around like the field, like in pregame. It's like, yeah, this isn't going to happen. Like just like comparing even like bodies, you know what I mean? Just like Alabama, and like it was just night.
That roster was so loaded though, too. Like in hindsight, I just remember the funniest part about that game is I just kept remember hearing the name Clinton Dix. I was like,
Clinton
and
Dix.
I was like, who is this Clinton Dix guy? What kind of name is this? And of course, he goes on to play for the Packers and be like a really good NFL player. And I think that just about sums up
all
how
night
that experience
long. Clinton Dix was
like interception,
everywhere.
tackle, every single play. It felt like Clinton Dix, and I was like, who is this guy?
Ha ha, Clinton Beck. Yeah. All right, fill in the blank. At his introductory press conference, Jim Harbaugh saying the goal with the LA Chargers is to win multiple championships. Is blank.
Typical for an opening press conference when you get a job. Like, I mean, we kind of had this talk when Micah Shrewsbury took over at Notre Dame. And he's like, you can win national championships here at Notre Dame. And I was like, okay. And I kind of feel the same way. Now, the difference is there's only 32 NFL teams. I do think Jim Harbaugh is a good NFL coach. It doesn't take much to turn around an NFL franchise. And so could they win a Super Bowl? Absolutely. Will they win multiple? What is multiple? Is that 4? Is it like more than one? More than one?
Like, are you
Multiple. What? Redundant?
Yeah.
Or what?
Uh-huh. Yeah, exactly.
You know, this is the same energy that I got from him coming on Colin Cowherd today and doubling down that J.J. McCarthy is going to be the first.
How many
overall.
times are you going to quote Colin Cowherd?
Seriously, I was going to say the same thing. We have a closet Colin Cowherd fan in our midst.
There's clips that surface on X,
go away for a couple
and
days.
it gives you stuff to talk about.
My biggest critique is I don't know if we've ever said his name. We've maybe said his name twice in a year and a half on this show, and you have brought him up I don't know how many times in the last 3 days.
Twice.
It just gives the same energy, though. He came on that one and said, "Oh, J.J. McCarthy is going to be the first quarterback taken," and then now he comes out and says,
"Did he really say that?"
Yes, he doubled down on it today and said that, and I was just like, "Come on,
I mean, that's not even close. Like he may not even go in the first round, and there'll be like 4 or 5 guys to go in the first round."
Yeah, but what I'm getting at is that Matt, like that's just Jim Harbaugh. He's just overconfident. He's overselling it, and I get that that's what you have to do. But on the flip side of it, like I don't necessarily doubt him. I think that roster is really good. He has freaking Justin Herbert at quarterback.
That's what it starts with. He's got a franchise quarterback.
Absolutely.
Yeah. He doesn't have to worry about a quarterback for at least the next 10 years. He is set at quarterback, and he's got plenty of talent around him. I mean, it starts with that, and the biggest problem is that other quarterback in his own division, Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, that's what's gonna. That's I mean, you could. We could be seeing like the next great NFL rivalry, for the next 10 years, because it's kind of been Mahomes and Allen. It could shift to Mahomes and Herbert here pretty quickly with Jim Harbaugh showing up.
This is a great point by Tommy Guns. He says, will Harbaugh, he says hairball, will Harbaugh draft the, quote, best quarterback he's ever seen at Michigan, unquote, in the first round? Back up these words, Johnny boy. I mean, he does have the ability to back up his own words. I don't know where the Chargers are drafting. They got to be somewhat high, right?
I think they're mid first round someplace. They missed the playoffs, so I think they might be around
top
15,
half, right?
15, 16, somewhere around there.
Yeah,
maybe.
They're not going with quarterback though. I would put everything.
It would be
in my
ridiculous
to say they're not going with quarterback.
It would be ridiculous for them to go at quarterback.
Like Herbert, to me,
number 5
is
number 5 overall.
They're 5 overall.
Yeah,
the Chargers are.
Yeah.
Why did I think they were lower than that?
I don't know.
Sorry, go ahead, Jess.
No, you're good. Go.
Outside of Patrick Mahomes, I think Herbert's like the second or third best quarterback in the league, and I think he's been handcuffed the last couple years with Staley over there in LA. But I like when you think about a quarterback, just long, tall, great power, able, like he throws some of the prettiest balls like and into windows that I don't think most quarterbacks can in this league. And he reminds me of an old school traditional, shotgun type quarterback. And I like the way I think that Jim Harbaugh and him are going to do a lot of good things ultimately. And I think they're going to turn into more of a power kind of aggressive team and allow their run game to open up more of that deep stuff down the field. But I don't know. Like I wouldn't be shocked if the Chargers win a Super Bowl, but to say multiple, that's where I'm drawing the line. But I do think that the Chargers could get one in relatively, soon.
Well, I mean, is he going to be there for multiple years as well? Because that's the other thing is the 9 years at Michigan is the longest that he's lasted anywhere, and he wore out his welcome at both Stanford and San Francisco before he got there. And I think that he sort of, because it was Michigan and it was his alma mater, I mean, look, he was looking for a way out a couple of years ago. He just couldn't find his way out, and he finally got his way out by winning a national championship and working his way back to the NFL. So I do wonder how long it's going to last in LA. It's all sunshine and roses and everything else right now, but I think you're right, Jess. I think that I would give them, like, if I go scale of 1 to 10, Super Bowl, getting to the Super Bowl in the next 3 years, I'd probably put it at a 7.
Yeah, I think that's fair because they've got a lot of talent there, and they got a lot
roster's
of
there.
resources.
It's just underachieving.
Yeah. They got a lot of, and there's a reason that the last staff was fired because they just couldn't get over that hump. They had lots of talent, but they just couldn't get over the hump. Jim Harbaugh can get you over the hump. I mean, he is a good coach. He was really good with the Niners. They made it to the Super Bowl.
I mean, he's in LA now too. Like these are the LA Chargers. Like this is just a great market, great situation. Like I think that was the best job to walk into this offseason, just because of the first thing you said is you got a franchise quarterback, and that's the hardest part in the NFL is getting that franchise quarterback. And everyone knows that, like, he works well with quarterbacks. Like that's his thing. He, obviously he used to play quarterback.
All right, I'm going to throw one on you here. This is Pro Bowl weekend. It is also the second year of the Pro Bowl games since they did away with the actual Pro Bowl.
There we go.
Last year. They got the things like the skills challenges, tug of war, flag football games. Scale of 1 to 10. What is your interest in the Pro Bowl games?
My skill, now that it's Friday and I don't have much going on the rest of the week and the girlfriend is out of town, I'm giving this like a 5 out of 10. And I am more interested to see. I loved flipping it on yesterday and seeing Jalen Hurts suck in the quarterback throwing competition. That made my day. Watching Jalen Hurts, the glorified running back, miss moving targets as a quarterback. So I thought that was great. And I do like I like the trick shot catches that they do and like that sort of stuff and like the dodgeball. And I liked when Micah Parsons challenged Tyreek Hill to a 40 a couple years ago. Like that's the stuff I like to see. And I actually don't mind the game going away because they weren't trying and now you don't have any risk of anyone getting hurt. And so, yeah, it's just more fun now.
Micah Parsons participated in the quarterback challenge, didn't he?
I did. Yeah, he did better than Jalen Hurts, I think.
Yeah, probably true. It's like a negative 17 for me. Like I have zero desire. I forgot that there was stuff on last night concerning the only reason I knew about it kind of was because I was looking for questions for rapid fire. And then I was like, yeah, I'm not asking questions about that. And then apparently the game is on Sunday. There are so many things I would rather do than watch a flag football game with a bunch of NFL guys. Like I don't know. It just doesn't do anything for me. Nothing.
I thought that I would be more interested in this last year, and then I flipped it on and I was like, I can't get into this at all.
Yeah,
and it turns out it's like a series of flag football games as well. It's like they play this one and then they play this one. And then, it's like Eli and Peyton Manning or the coaches. And I can, maybe if they were quarterbacking for the two different teams or something like that, it'd make it a little more interesting. But I kind of put it at a 2 as well. It just doesn't do anything for me. Maybe if FanDuel starts putting stuff up on their app.
Hey, NHL, Derek, this one's for you. NHL All-Star Game is tomorrow. You can bet on who you think the MVP is going to be.
Michael Bublé, clearly.
I randomly drew a name out of a hat because I was looking to have fun.
Because you don't know hockey.
I know.
Admit it. You don't know hockey.
But there's something fun to bet on.
Oh, to have the disposable income of Jesse Stiers, folks.
Seriously.
I got to pay taxes this year on my FanDuel.
All right. So, of course, we're, a week away, a little bit more than a week away from the Super Bowl. And CBS had 6 people on their AFC Championship game pregame show last weekend. That prompted Bill Simmons to tweet, "The 6-man pregame show is always a miracle of stupidity." Do you buy or sell that?
I buy this. I think that 5 or 6 is too much. I'd cut my limit at just about 4. And I think CBS has bigger issues than the 6-man crew. I think their crew, even if it was 4, is largely boring. And it's just not quite as fun as the Fox or the NFL Network or even the ESPN, pregame shows. And so CBS is my least favorite. And you're telling me, if you add more people, it's just it's more boring for me. And that's kind of where I stand on the situation.
Yeah, you don't allow when you have 6 guys or 6 people and you're trying to get everybody's opinion, it gets stale. I don't need 6 different people's opinion about the same topic. And yet, if you've got 6 people on the panel, you got to get 6 people's opinion, because if you don't talk to everybody,
well,
it's too many. It's too much.
And the way you get 6 people's opinion is you get 6 seconds from each of them.
Right.
Especially at halftime, you don't actually get any real analysis from any of them because there's so many of them.
Yeah.
It's oh, it's a big game, so let's add more bodies to the mix.
It's terrible.
And I was just
terrible.
I went and looked at the whole thing because he tweeted a photo. So you got James Brown, who's the host. It's okay, you got to have the host. But then you got Phil Simms, Bill Cowher, Nate Burleson, Boomer Esiason, and you got J.J. Watt sitting in there. Now, first of all, they've got Phil Simms and Boomer Esiason together on a daily basis. They're almost the same person as it is. They're like the 2 grumpy old blonde men, there's not that much difference between either of them. So, why do you need both of those guys on the same set? I've never figured that one out. And then, at least Nate Burleson is new to the whole thing.
He's my favorite one.
Yeah, Burleson, I think he does a pretty good job. Cowher, not bad. You got a coach, but, again, then you throw J.J. Watt in there. There's just too many. It's just too much. 6 is always too much. I think at the most, you probably need a host and 3 guys. Kind of
4 total.
I'm not sure what Fox has right now with the number. They've got Howie, Bradshaw, Jimmy. I guess they added Strahan, so they've got
Strahan, and they added Gronk.
Yeah, there you go.
So they got honestly, they have too many too, and they're always talking over each other.
Yes,
because it's like a big bunch of goofy bastards talking.
And you get that too. You get that too when you got too many people in the mix.
Right.
I'm gonna say it. I love JJ Watt as a player, but I do not love JJ Watt as the CBS guy or just any this. I don't know if you guys saw, but there's this war on analytics recently, and now it's being spearheaded by JJ Watt, and it's
oh really?
Yeah, he basically was saying how the PF the players don't like the PFF grades, and they think that they're baloney, and all of this stuff, and it I don't know. I just feel like JJ Watt has turned into that old get off my lawn guy. It's dude, you just retired a year ago. It feels like he's already Boomer Esiason. I'm what are we doing right now? I don't know. That's just my opinion.
Brent, I hope you're feeling better soon, but he wants us to talk about the 49ers.
Almost as bad as talking about Colin Cowherd, Brent.
Yes. It's
you can tell Brent's not feeling well because the jabs at Jesse are so few and far between.
Yeah, I haven't seen any.
Yeah,
I haven't seen any.
Because he was coming hard at him the other day.
Was he?
It's not. It's not the other day. It's every day.
Well, I recognized it on Wednesday. How about that? It was. It's man, Jesse's just like a pincushion.
Well, and I guess my follow-up to this thing about the pregame shows, doesn't it feel like podcasts have made these pregame shows largely irrelevant as it is?
You're not, to me, I'm not learning anything. The only thing I learn about watching those shows is one, injury updates. That's really the only reason I'm checking in for fantasy reasons. I want to know, because I usually have a segment of these guys are in and these guys are out.
Yeah.
And so I generally don't care what they have to say. It's something to do before the game actually starts, because we wait until 1 o'clock until the first series of games starts. And then 2, I'm just making sure I know all the possible information before the games actually start. And, NFL Network's my favorite just because there's more personality on that. They do more fun type skit stuff, and so that's what I enjoy.
That's probably because they've got a longer format though, because they don't have to worry about other stuff on their network, because it's NFL Network. They can basically go as long as they want to go.
Yeah.
And
That's
not be
true.
as constrained with time.
That's true. Nothing ever gets said on those shows.
Right.
Yeah, right. And so like that's what I was getting at, is podcasts are far more informational. And so when you get to the actual these shows, it's like they're not really relevant. I just want to know, because they have the quickest access to the person who knows about who's in and out. And that's the only reason I tune in.
That's exactly what I was going to say. The stuff that is most relevant on Sunday or Saturday, if it's a college game, is the guys, or the reporters, the Jay, what's his name? The bald guy on Fox. I can't think of his name. Blazer. Thank you. Giving you player, injury updates, who's going to play, who's not going to play, all that, like people want to know that for their fantasy stuff. But otherwise, I think, like we sit here during the season and we break down Notre Dame stuff all week long. And so, like, if you tune in game day and they're talking about Notre Dame on Saturday, what are they going to tell you in their 6-minute segment about Notre Dame that, if you've been paying attention all week, hasn't already been discussed in, more long form in greater detail?
They're just giving you the abbreviated notes of stuff that we've probably likely.
And I'm not just like patting ourselves. I'm just saying in general that
it's just a different format.
The expansion of podcast, because there's there's a podcast that fits everything that you're looking for, basically. And if you're an NFL fan or a college football fan,
if you're a botanist fan,
it just feels like I don't know what you're getting out of these pregame shows anymore on the actual day of the game that you're not getting during the week from your podcasts. So.
Yeah, I can't say that I listen to like NFL podcasts. It's just not something that interests me, but I'm also not interested in the fluff that is the pregame show either. I generally tune in right at kickoff. I mean, that's what I do. And whether it's the regular season or the postseason, and the postseason is even worse, because it just feels like every single story just gets retread and retread and retread, especially when they're talking about 2 games. Like last weekend, they're talking about 2 games, and they've got like a 2-hour pregame show. It's like, oh my gosh, like, it's too much. And so I tune in for the game, and then that's it. I really do.
I actually, because last Saturday night, got back at 3 a.m. from that thrilling game at Connecticut, and then got up, did some stuff Sunday, and I was worn out, so I was I had the house to myself for like part of the day, because my wife was working and my daughter was at work, and so I'm just kind of sitting there vegging out, and I'm saying, all right, well, I want some football content, so I threw on like the CBS pregame show, and it's like, this is what this pass is for. And then Bill Simmons tweeted that, and it's like, yes, I'm right in there, Bill.
Yeah, I'm aware. Right.
All right. So the NFL has laid out its Super Bowl player gambling policy for the Super Bowl next week in Las Vegas. Here's what it says: while in Vegas, players participating in the Super Bowl are prohibited from engaging in any form of gambling, including casino games and betting on any sport. So my question, is it fair or foul to play the Super Bowl in Las Vegas and not allow any of the players to gamble?
I feel very strongly about this. This is 100% foul. We are grown men in this situation. We are in charge of our own finances and our own money. Again, like if you can't say that you can't go to Vegas, like I get it, like betting on the game itself, right? Big no.
But like big casino games, like,
but if I want to go out and
you can't go play some blackjack on your own.
Like I got all this free, not tons of free time, but like I got some time. I want to go, blow some time at the blackjack table. I'm a grown man. I could do whatever I want. Like if I'm not betting on the game itself, I really don't understand that rule, and I don't think that you should be allowed to host the Super Bowl in a city like Vegas if you are told as a grown man that you cannot go gamble at your own leisure.
Right.
I think it's ridiculous. It's 100% foul, and it's not. And again, I'm echoing kind of what Jesse just said. Like they're not saying you can't bet on the game, which duh, of course you can't bet on the game, but you can't just sit down at a blackjack table. You can't. You can't throw a chip down on the roulette wheel. Like you can't just throw the die. Like I've got a major problem with that. I've got a major problem with that because the NFL specifically, because we're talking about the NFL, they embrace gambling. They embrace it. And we're not asking them to bet on the Super Bowl. Just some people like to just go and gamble. Like it's a pastime. They enjoy it. And you're not allowing them to do it. And the Super Bowl's in Vegas, where you have an NFL team, by the way. So are you telling me that the Raiders players are never allowed to hit a casino all season long?
Right.
Or anybody that's visiting the Raiders can't hit a casino? Since it's the Super Bowl, nobody's allowed in. It's ridiculous. I'm sorry.
Completely agree. It's one thing to say you can't bet on sports. Okay.
Sure, fine.
That's fine.
But like you just said, to go into a casino, not be able to, play a hand of blackjack, or go to the roulette table, pull a handle on the slot.
Maybe they got so many nerves they can't sleep. They just want to go to the casino and knock a couple hours out.
Big Lick says, what's the IB gambling policy? We need a Saturday morning gambling show with Jesse, Vince, and Sean during the football season.
Now, we talked about that last part yesterday a little bit, and so we'll see how that progresses. But
I want my own segment, and I'm trying to get it sponsored.
You get your own show, brother. That's where we need to go with that. But as far as there being a policy, there's no policy. We can lose our money with the best of them.
Here's what gets it started. Okay. So working again, executive producer here. Okay. So every Tuesday, you just show up ready to talk about some bets that you feel strongly about. Like, you put together your empirical data on your spreadsheets, like you're known to do. You bring your sheets, you give us the data, and you tell us why you feel strongly about, say, 8 to 10 bets.
Okay. I think we got to keep track of my record, too. That's the
100%.
The Super Bowl is next week. So Tuesday, show up with as much as you want to show up with on Tuesday. Ready to go. And if you don't use it on Tuesday, I'll be gone on Thursday, and you guys can get to it on Thursday as well. And I know that we had a request for next Friday's show to be all Super Bowl prop bets. We can definitely do that because there are literally like 500
many
I can dig up, and we can have all kinds of fun with some of the fun prop
bets.
And we're definitely going to keep track of those.
Best one I've seen so far is what over under on the jersey number total on touchdown players scored. So like if Kelsey's wearing 80 and a running back wears 10 and they both score a touchdown, their jersey number combines for 50. They've set it over under at what that combined jersey number will be.
That is confusing. That's confusing as all get out.
John's got a nice idea for you. Bring out the whiteboard. Whiteboard, I don't know what we would call it. Your whiteboard, whiteboard roulette or something like that.
We're gonna have to think of a good. It's got to go with Jesse. Somehow we got to get the name in there.
And why is Tuesday early? Why is I mean, because there's only. I mean, again, it's the Super Bowl, so it's like Super Bowl content during the week. Are you saying it's too early because the Super Bowl isn't until Sunday, so that's
maybe
too early to do?
I think they might say the lines might be changing, but the thing is,
they don't all have to be football bets either.
That's what I was going to get at. Is there's an NBA game just about every day, and whether you watch or not is one thing, but there's always games to be bet.
Baseball is something. NBA. Baseball's coming up. You got futures bets. Like you can start.
But I agree that if it became Notre Dame, that Friday would be the best because they take forever to get props out. Yeah. And the props are constantly being adjusted throughout the week.
Right.
Tommy Guns makes a good point. We do need to. Have you addressed this with the boss, Vince?
I have not, because I forget every time.
I know. Because I do
too. We need to have him to have access, especially on days when you're not here.
We may have a winner here, courtesy of Ken. Whiteboard wagers.
Oh, that's pretty good.
I like that.
That's pretty good.
All right, well, we're all on board. I know what my task is.
Okay. Don't make me repeat
just
myself.
What I do every day, but make it presentable in the show.
By the
Right.
way, John says his cousin Andrew is a financial advisor for Northwestern Mutual in Chicago. So
There you go.
look up Andrew Christophic at Northwestern Mutual in Chicago if you are looking for some financial planning. It's a way to
Nice.
go.
Nice.
Thanks, John. And My Nice Mortgage. How many times are we going to hear Riley Leonard transferred from Duke? Will he wear a "You Suck" bracelet? And how many interviews will his mom get? Over under.
She'll get one on the home broadcast at one point. She'll get the one for sure, and it'll all be about the bracelet. And so we'll get the Zoom on it and the whole deal. There'll be one story done on it.
You think they took a
100%.
bone out of his ankle when they did that tightrope? Like, will he wear?
Because that one got old real fast too. By the way, yeah, it did.
By the way, final thought today: Carl Weathers, aka Apollo Creed, aka
Chubbs
from Happy Gilmore, sadly
right.
passed away today. Man, I was just watching Predator recently, and I was watching some Rocky recently as well. Carl Weathers, man, what a stud!
I had no idea he played in the NFL.
I was getting ready to say former Oakland Raiders
He's one of
linebacker.
those guys that did just about everything.
Yep.
Yeah. I had no idea he played in the NFL.
76 years old. That guy. He held it up for a long time.
He lived a hell of a life from what I can gather. I mean, so good for him. Like going from being a professional athlete to being an award-winning actor and playing some iconic roles too,
Yeah.
by the way. Iconic roles. I mean, that's not, an actor is lucky to get one iconic role. He had multiple. And that's impressive. That's something to say. So that was
gonna ring the bell?
Sad bit of news.
Ding, ding. Thank you, Joe.
Did you guys start your morning with Groundhog Day, Bill Murray?
I watched the unveiling of the actual groundhog live with my children at the breakfast table this morning.
So supposedly spring is coming early, right?
That's what they tell me.
Well, the thing is his selections are only 38% of the time accurate. So I think we need to start fading him and doing the opposite of
Hey, George.
what he picks.
Dylan, you old son of a bleep. Thanks, Paul. That was the line from Predator. Dylan.
I think Sean Stewart gave it. I didn't know what the Dylan in all caps was, but
I didn't either. I thought he was spelling my kid's name wrong.
Oh, there it is. I didn't see Sean Stewart. Dylan.
I knew it had to be in reference to something, but I'm the last person you want to ask.
Arnold Schwarzenegger brought the schnitzel down to South America when they were doing the Predator down there. Carl Weathers ate the schnitzel. Oh, well, rest in peace, Carl Weathers.
Oh, I didn't know that Carl Weathers was on Arrested Development.
Yeah.
The scene, I saw the scene where he's got like the bone. He's like, you could make a stew with this or something like that. I can't remember. It was funny seeing all the different Carl Weathers.
I'm telling you, man,
today.
He touched a lot of areas, you know what I mean, in his life. Like, it was impressive.
What's crazy is I think the thing that he was, the two roles that he was obviously most known for playing Apollo Creed in Rocky, and probably the second most known role that he had was playing Chubbs
100%
in Happy Gilmore.
100%.
That is still the stupidest looking hand.
It's hilarious. That's what makes it so great.
So what's your favorite Carl Weathers movie then? Is it Rocky, Predator, or Happy Gilmore?
It's not even close. It's Happy Gilmore.
Yeah, but he's a big Rocky fan.
I know
he's got the whole set, the box set.
Oh, I'm aware.
Rocky 3 is the way to go. But he was basically the bad guy in Predator. He wasn't a good guy because he was like the CIA, and he was kind of double crossing Schwarzenegger and the rest of the crew. Like Jesse the Body Ventura had the best line in Predator with Ain't got time to bleed. Oh, you got time to duck?
I'm telling you, people, if anyone ever saw the show, what was it, like something pop culture hit, like pop culture trivia show on MTV that we used to watch for the longest time? There's one strong contestant that I always encouraged to go on there, but never did.
I tried to get, like, when that show was on, I tried to come up with because remember it was like you came up with a team and you
Yeah,
went on
there's
that
three. It was
show
a team of three.
yeah, we never got an entry put in. I wish they'd do a show like that. That was because it was like there were different categories. You know, there was like music and TV and movies and all that stuff.
I'd be helpful in some of that, not music.
World Series of Pop Culture. That was the
That's
name
what
of
it was. Yeah. Gosh, that's been about 20 or so years ago, hasn't it?
Well, I'm 27, so like it's.
But you remember it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I just remember you getting them all of them right, and I'm like, why don't you just go do it?
You know, you remember when Who Wants to Be a Millionaire was popular? I qualified like doing the phone thing, like because you used to have to call in and like answer questions, and I qualified like 2 or 3 times, but I never got a call back. You know, it's like you still had to, I don't know what the process was, because you know they take your number and all this different stuff, but I never got the call back after I qualified.
What game show would you guys be on if you could? Like right now, today, if there was a game show that you could be on, do you know what it would be?
Man,
I'm starting my training for Survivor. I'm gonna try to get on Survivor before it's all said.
Vince and I were talking about doing the Amazing Race a few years back.
That'd be fun because you get to travel across the country as well.
I think we'd be really good at Amazing Race.
I know.
I mean,
or
I would not do Survivor. Like Survivor is like it's
no way.
Grueling.
No, 100%. I'm not sleeping in bugs and all that. No, sorry, it's not happening. And I'm not walking around half naked. And
you're not going to go take your business out in the water.
It'd be hell of a diet plan to go on Survivor.
I know,
but you'd lose some good weight.
The problem is, I would get. This is how it would go. They would love me at first. And then I'd get cranky and I'd start pissing people off. And I would get voted off. Like that's what would happen.
All the young people would be like, get this old
they would love me at first.
Guy out of here.
I'm telling you, they would love me at first, and then I'd get cranky.
I'm not helping you build a fire. You build your own fire.
I'd be pissed. Leave me alone. That's what would happen.
Over here with the ants.
I would find another older guy to commiserate with, and they'd vote us both off. Probably that's what would happen.
I think it would really set in. You see some of the nights where they just get like dumped on with rain, and they have no shelter, and they're just sitting there taking freezing rain
freezing cold
all night.
That just sounds awful. Awful. It's not worth it. And only one person wins the $1 million, and they have to vote for you to win.
Yeah,
it's never going to happen.
Make your case at the end. It's not like based off of pure talent. You have to like explain your resume.
I will piss off too many people. That would be.
I like that.
Ken
I'd be
has
on
a good
Family
one.
Feud. That would be really fun.
That could be a real good one. You know, we could put together a decent team.
The IB Family Feud.
Oh yeah,
Brian would be at the head.
I was watching Primetime Let's Make a Deal last week, and that felt like a pretty easy show. I was just yelling at this woman. It's like, why are you being so greedy? Take the $20,000 they're trying to give you and walk out of here right now.
That would be my issue. I'd keep rolling the dice, and I'd lose it all. Unfortunately, I wouldn't know when to get out. I'd either win it all or win nothing. That would be my issue.
Yeah,
we need to actively look into Amazing Race, Sean. That needs to happen. It would be like Sean and Vince, broadcast buddies. You know,
I mean, we get a demo.
It's a relation
right here. You know,
that's right.
Like, here's what we do. We talk to each other.
I'm telling you, that needs to happen. And it would be good TV too, because we would go from being like happy-go-lucky, you know, to just absolutely yelling at each other.
That's exactly
it's
right.
100% going to happen.
That's what I would worry about. It's like, because, you know, it's like, pull up your damn pants and run.
we would get pissed at each other, and then like 5 minutes later be just fine. Like that is 100% what would happen. Yep.
Oh man. All right. Well, I think that's going to do it for today.
Yeah, I'm looking into it. It's happening.
Do it. Get that entry. They've got to have a website someplace. We can submit. All right. Well, everybody have a good weekend. No Super Bowl, of course, this weekend. We'll be
Pro
back.
Bowl, baby.
That's
Watch
right.
flag football this weekend.
Pro Bowl games. Watch that flag. Watch the tug of war. Go have fun.
Absolutely.
We'll be back on Monday. Hit the like button before you leave. And, of course, subscribe, rate, and review. We'll talk to you Monday on IB Nation Sports Talk.